Hello.
Hello,
Yay.
viewers.
Yes, welcome to the business webinars. So much fun.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So while we wait for people to join us, we're just going to introduce ourselves. So I'm Jadene from London in England, but currently I am in Milan.
And I am Anika. I am originally from Bangladesh, and right now I'm in Milan as well. We're both teachers in Milan Meraviglio, in Myes
Exactly.
Meraviglio.
Yay. So when you guys arrive, if anyone does arrive, hopefully yes, don't
Mhm.
forget to introduce yourself, and tell us your names and where you are from and where you are now. Because we love meeting you and we love getting to learn more about you.
Yes. Yeah, it is quite a little bit of a strange time because I think some students are probably preparing dinner or something.
Yes, it's true. It's 7, and I know that's quite a normal time for the Italian dinners, but
Hmm.
we'll see. Maybe someone will tune in.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So we can talk about the topic of today, which is a roadmap. So a roadmap is an expression used for a plan for achieving something. A roadmap to something is a plan to achieve that. For example, this is used as a roadmap to success, for example,
Yeah,
or
and
a
that's a really
roadmap
nice one.
to yeah, roadmap to. Can you think of anything else, Jadine? A roadmap to.
Not right now, but I
Hmm.
guess the phrase comes from if you have a roadmap, then you can get to where your destination smoothly,
Hmm.
easily without problems. So if someone gives you a roadmap to or a guide to
Hmm.
something, then it should mean that by the end of it, you'll be able to get or do what you want to really easily,
Hmm.
without getting lost, without being confused, etc.
Exactly. So basically, this lesson is about planning and managing your goals or targets. So, which involves a lot of time management or planning. So, are you a good planner, Jaden? Are you good at planning
Um,
your day stuff?
I'm not bad at planning. I'm better if I plan with somebody.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would say that I'm quite organized.
Okay.
What about you? Do you like to plan and be prepared for things, or do you wing it?
Well, I do like to plan usually. In fact, I love doing it. So I know what to prioritize, what's more important and what's not, because I tend to forget things sometimes. So for me, it's quite important to plan things. Yeah,
Okay,
that's a nice expression that Jaden has used to wing it, to go with the flow or do something without a plan. Exactly. But sometimes in life, you have to wing things. Sometimes
that's true.
unexpected things happen. So you must wing it sometimes. Okay, moving forward, this is our plan. In this business activity, we're going to talk about creating an agenda, ordering priorities, and first conditional, which is a little bit of grammar there.
Hmm, good.
Yeah. So have you missed anything here, Jadine? Anything that you want to add, maybe?
No, I think that's fine.
Hmm.
Maybe an
Okay.
agenda, but we can talk about that now. Um,
Hmm.
so on the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah. So creating an agenda can be a personal thing, like a personal schedule, Or if you have an agenda for a meeting, usually it's the schedule of the meeting and everything will be planned from the introduction of the meeting to even a part at the end where there is some time left for anyone to bring up something that's called other business. And other business is anything that someone in the meeting wants to talk about that wasn't originally on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So here's an interesting questions for us to discuss. So even if you're watching later on, you can always share your ideas in the comment section. So here it says, how important is prioritizing? When and how do you do it? So prioritizing can be a difficult word to pronounce because it's a long one, prioritize. So for me, prioritizing is important because there's often a lot of things that I plan. Sometimes I make a mistake of planning like too many things on the same day, which is probably
Oh
not a good
no,
idea. I overwhelm
oh
myself
no.
sometimes.
Yeah, you could say you're overbooked.
Yes. And then I have to think about, okay, not all of them are important and I cannot do all of those things in my agenda. But
Mm.
when, if you ask me when and how you do it, I always write it in my planner. So I have a day planner and I
Ah,
love this.
excellent.
And I write a checklist of things. And when I do something, I check the box and it feels so good.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
And what about you, Jaden? How important is
Um,
prioritizing for you?
I think it depends on what I'm doing, but usually it's a good idea to have a list of priorities or to plan your day, especially at work. Probably in my personal life, I don't plan very
Mm,
much. But in a working day, obviously, I'll have to organize, even at the moment in quarantine, I have to organize when I do my personal work around the webinars or lessons and make sure I know when I'm going to eat and how much time I have, what kind of thing I can cook. Um,
mm,
yeah, and I also have a planner, although I'm not really using it at the moment because the
mm.
only plans I have are on the work timetable. But usually, if I have other things to do, I will put that in my planner. And I have a pen with lots of different colors. So I like to color code it, which means I like to organize my planner by color.
Mm. Very nice. Also, they're nice to look at sometimes. And
Yeah,
I don't know, you can look back and
exactly.
see, like when you look back in your past plans, and then you're like, oh, I've done those things, and you feel proud about it.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, great definition. So an agenda, an organized plan for a meeting or a personal schedule, and color code to organize something by color. So thank you, Jaden, for great definitions.
Mm.
So here we have a list of items. These are methods for reminding yourself things. So,
Yeah, I just
okay, so
want
I
to,
can read
sorry,
the, yeah, go
I
ahead.
just want to make a point, just a word point that I often hear people mistake. To remind is to cause somebody to remember. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's just a difference between remembering something, so thinking about something in the past, and to remind something that is making you remember. Because I
Yeah,
hear
that's a
often
good
people
point to have.
say, "Oh, remember me something," when they
Hmm.
mean remind me.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. That's a good point. Um, so here's a list of different methods that you can use yourself of your daily targets. So I'm gonna read the list here. So number one is lists, smart apps, post-it notes, a parent, your parent, memory,
Your partner,
and
your partner.
agenda. Oh, your partner. I'm sorry. A parent,
No problem.
your partner. So a partner can be so a girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, or husband. That's what partner is. So your memory, an agenda, and the back of an envelope.
Well,
So I don't know about you, Jadene, but I cannot rely on my memory because I forget things
no.
really often. So I have to write things down.
Yeah, but I think that's like a vicious circle because you know that you depend on a list or an agenda. So then you stop
Mm-hmm.
trying to remember things.
Mm-hmm.
So then
Yeah.
anything that I don't write down on my list, I always forget about because my mind is just like, oh, but you wrote it down. So
Yeah.
if you write it down, then everything's there. It's very dangerous.
Yeah. I think, yeah, you're right.
um, but I
Mm.
hate smart apps. I hate
Oh,
them.
you do.
I can't use them. When anything
Mm-hmm.
pops up on my phone, I always just ignore it.
Oh.
Yeah, so they don't work for me.
Mm. I don't use them either. I don't absolutely hate them. I have tried it in the past, but I just find it really nice and convenient to write it with a pen. And when you get to check them off, it's just really nice. And is there anything else that you use, Jadine, to remind yourself stuff
When I
from this
worked in an
list?
office, I
Mm-hmm.
used to use a lot of post-it notes because there was space to
Mm-hmm.
stick them on my monitor or on my little wall. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would never use the back of an envelope. um, yeah, and I couldn't trust a parent or a partner to remind me
Mm-hmm.
something. And if they forgot, I would just be very angry. But really, I should remember myself because I'm an adult.
Mm.
So
Agreed. Yeah. And yes, and also if you write it on the back of an envelope, you can lose it anytime. So it's not a very
exactly.
reliable method. Okay, so here we have a nice quote by an anonymous person saying, I'm definitely going to take a course on time management just as soon as I work into my schedule. I can work it into my schedule.
I like that.
So, time management courses need time management. Have you ever
Exactly.
done any time management course?
No, I haven't. Have you?
Me neither.
Mm,
Yeah, I
but
couldn't really work it out into my schedule.
yeah, I don't think I need a time management course. I do need some courses, but
Hmm.
time management isn't really something that I struggle with.
Hmm. That's good. That's good. Okay. So, do you think we've missed anything here, or
No,
shall
I
we
think
move
it's
on to?
okay.
Okay, so we can move on to a case study here. Mm, so, Jadine, do you mind reading the
Sure,
paragraph
sure.
here?
So, case study, Hopskitch Films, Sydney. Hopskitch is a small independent film company that is launching a project in the near future. CEO June Wheaton needs to prepare the final steps of planning before the project starts. The amount of work will be very difficult, so June has called a meeting with the production manager, Alexis Ham, to bring the project back on track. And then there is a question that says, is work sometimes too difficult? What is slash are your solutions?
Hmm. Well, I think in our case, mm, work is not as difficult as some other jobs, I would say.
I think
Mm,
so.
hmm. But then, some kind of jobs. For example, here you have to get back on track. So if there are some problems with time management or if there are a lot of deadlines to meet, it can get very difficult. For example, I used to work as a researcher a long time ago, and I had to do a lot of presentations and write reports, and that was really difficult for me because
Oh, really?
yeah, especially working in a laboratory, you needed a lot of patience to do some experiments on time, and sometimes things didn't go right. So
Mm,
you had to go through a lot of unexpected things. So my solution was
okay.
to like start things ahead of time, like really early on, so
Ah,
at the end I wouldn't struggle with it. So did you ever have a
nice.
job where you where things got difficult at times, JD?
Um, yes, but
Hmm.
not really, again, not really in terms
Hmm.
of
Of time.
time, no.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
yes. But just to talk about back on track. So to get back on track, is to return something to the way it had originally been planned.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you had a deadline for a project in 2 months, but your project has been delayed, so maybe the deadline is now you're not going to meet it, it will be late. To get a project back on track is to try to do what you can to return it to the way it was before. So before there were any problems, um, maybe you can get to the deadline. Maybe you can finish before the deadline or at least closer to the original deadline.
Hmm. Okay, great. Exactly. So thank you, Jading, for a nice definition. Deadline is the end date a project should be finished. Okay, so maybe we can skip next topic. Finalizing the agenda. Mm,
Mm.
reorder June Wheaton's agenda for the meeting. So I'm going to read the list of agendas that she has, and then we're going to work on putting them in order. So the first one goes discuss future development of project, introduce and give overview of project, set next meeting time, delegate tasks, review work already finished, outline the steps to take, if time, develop plans for project website. If time, maybe if time allows, develop
Yeah, but
plans
I
for
think it's
project.
just personal notes. So
Oh, okay.
if you have
Okay.
time,
If I have time, yeah. Okay, have lunch.
okay.
So a
So
variety of things, actually.
it's true. What do we think? Then
Hmm.
I would say the first one, of course, is to introduce and give overview of a project. Because an introduction to introduce something, this is the first thing you always do, just to make sure everyone is aware of what will
Hmm.
come.
Okay.
And then what do you think, Anika?
The next one, I think it could be maybe review work already finished. So if you have
Exactly.
something already done, and then you can
Yeah,
work from there. So
I
review
agree.
work already finished. Cool. And what could be next?
Okay, so then you would say discuss the future development of the project. So you talk about everything that has been done in the past, and then
Mm-hmm.
you talk about what you plan to do in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if I were June, what I would do next is probably delegate tasks to other people. Oh, no, maybe not. Probably outline the steps to take.
Yes. So before you delegate
Mm-hmm.
tasks, of course, you should say, okay, this is the plan for the future. So then
Mm-hmm.
these are the steps we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the next one, maybe delegate tasks, or if time,
Oh,
develop plans for project website,
oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
and then
So you
delegate.
first make all the plans and then delegate the task.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, are there only 7?
So I guess it's have lunch. Oh no.
Is there enough?
uh, I mean, if it was me, like, I think I would,
Oh,
um,
set the meeting time.
yeah, set the meeting time and then you have lunch. Yeah. Well, it depends.
Okay.
Have lunch actually can vary depending on like when you're having the meeting, how long the meeting is, and so on.
Exactly. So, okay, then I think a good kind of plan for an agenda is the introduction, the review, so to go over everything you've already done,
Mm-hmm.
then discuss the future plans, and then the steps, so how you will do these things for
Mm-hmm.
all of the plans. Decide, so delegate means to hand out tasks, okay? Because if you're in a big company, um, and I have in our plan for the future, there are 10 steps. Maybe I can't do all of them. So I will delegate. I will say, Anika, can you do 5 of these and I will do the other 5. So it's to hand them out. And then once everyone knows what
Yeah.
they are going to do between now and the next meeting,
Mm-hmm.
decide when the next meeting will be.
Yep. Yep, that's a good plan. Um, so if you don't think we have missed anything, we can move forward, maybe.
Yeah, just like I said before, often at the end of meetings as well, they will have any other business, which is just
Hmm.
if somebody else has a question and it wasn't on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, moving on. Putting it together. So you're gonna read the notes June has left for herself after the meeting. Okay, so I think she has executed her plan, and now we're looking further ahead of time. So she says, no
Mm.
time for a website. Next meeting agenda to include how to build the site, type of advertising, if any, social media presence. There's a question mark there, so maybe she needs to research about this. Number of pages and content, links to festival sites. Again, maybe she needs to do research about it. So write an agenda for the next meeting for her to send to Alexis.
Okay,
Hmm.
so if we look at what we had before in the last plan, so it says
Mm-hmm.
first we need for any meeting, we need an introduction, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, right. So I
Okay.
guess similarly here, you introduce and give overview of projects.
hmm And then what is the second thing we need to do, Anika?
So as before, I guess you have to discuss what tasks we need to do. Um,
Yes, but after the introduction?
Probably, oh, you want to review what people have done already?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe to
Make
go
sure that
over what we
everyone,
have done.
yes.
Okay, so review or go over work completed to date. Yeah. And then I think we would need to discuss further on
hmm
what to do. So here, discuss future development of project. And then what do you think, Jadene, would come next?
So then we said we need to talk about how we're going to do these. So what steps do we need to do to make sure that we achieve our goals?
Yeah. Great. And then I remember next we would need to delegate the task, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Okay, so if there's time, develop plan for project. So you want to further develop the plan and then maybe delegate tasks? Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it was all of the plans first and then delegate the task.
Yeah.
As you said, so always delegate task at the end and then organize the next meeting.
Set next meeting, yeah. And break for lunch. Variable.
Okay, fantastic.
Cool.
So
So we're going to move on to an example of a meeting here. So maybe we can take turns to read this.
sure.
So I could be Alexis, and Jadene, you could be June, since your
Okay.
your name starts with a J.
Oh, it's true. A and J. Okay.
A&J. AJ. Okay. Alexis Ham. We need to find a place to shoot. If we build a team in France, we will have a better chance of meeting our deadline.
What if we manage the budget first? We need to know our spending potential.
Right. If we don't forecast expenses, we'll lose track of our goals.
When we have an idea for the budget, we will arrange a conference call with the team in France.
Great. But for now, let's postpone the meeting with the director. If we get any news soon on his salary, we will call him.
Okay, cool.
So what's nice about this dialogue is that there are many expressions that can be useful, and that's what we're going to observe now. Here, what we're going to do next is find examples in the text for ordering priorities.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first one, remember we said priorities are when we organize our tasks into the most important and the least important. And obviously we want to do the most important tasks first. And again, these tasks, they may be the most important or they may be the most urgent. So urgent means you have a very short time to do it. For example, maybe I have an important task, but maybe I also need to call a printing company. But the printing company is only open on Tuesdays. So maybe what I need isn't the most important thing, but I can only call them today, or I have to wait a whole week. So this is what urgent can mean, something where you have a very short time to do something.
Absolutely.
So one example in the text of where we order a priority is when June says, what if we manage the budget first? Because she's talking about doing the budget, doing the tasks needed for the budget before the other things.
Yeah. So this is something you say if you so what if is a really nice expression to suggest something. What if we did that, etc. So another phrase or a sentence where you prioritize something either as something urgent or something less important. I think at the end, but for now, let's postpone the meeting with the director.
Exactly. Because this is saying
Okay.
that we should postpone, so we should push something back to a later date. Yeah, maybe because it's not that important, or if there's an issue that has to be dealt with first, we'll do this one later.
Sure. Okay, I think that's it. I don't think there's any more prioritizing phrases. So we're going to talk about examples for cause and effect. Okay, this is where conditional sentences come in handy. So you're thinking about sentences with if or when. So you think about a condition, like if something happens, like the result will be like this. Cause and effect. So the first one that I can notice here is the second sentence that Alexis says. If we build a team in France, we will have a better chance of meeting our deadline.
Exactly, because if you don't build a team in France, then you won't have a better chance of meeting the deadline. So meeting the deadline depends on whether or not you will build the team in France.
Okay.
Okay, so then the second one is if we don't forecast expenses, we will lose track of our goals.
Great. And the opposite is true, I guess. If you forecast expenses, we won't lose track of our goals.
No, we will.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like if we do forecast, I'm thinking of the opposite. Yes. So it's not good to know the negative of will is won't. I think a lot of students sometimes confuse the pronunciation of won't and want.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And one way I think of it is that won't, so will not, I tend to make a longer sound. So if you're struggling to close your vowel sound, make it longer. I won't. Whereas want is a much shorter sound. It's a different sound, but it's shorter. So if you're struggling to make the different sounds, just extend the O in won't and shorten the A in want.
Yeah, that's a great way of explaining it. I didn't realize it's
Thank
longer
you.
in want.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next? Okay, so it's my turn, I guess. So the next cause and effect sentence is when. When we have an idea for the budget, we will arrange a conference call with the team in France. So when
Exactly.
actually, yeah, it's very similar to the if sentences, although when means you're more sure. So
Yeah,
if,
you
for
planned
example,
to
you
do
say,
this.
so for example, if I say, when we finish the lesson, I will have dinner. So that means
Exactly.
I have planned to have dinner.
Yeah,
But then if I
because you
say if,
know the lesson will finish.
yeah, it has to end at some point.
If we say if we finish the lesson, I don't know what this will mean. Trapped here forever.
Yeah, you don't want that. So
But we do love business webinars, so maybe we do. Maybe we do.
maybe we do. You never know. Okay. So is there anything
Okay.
else you can spot,
Yes.
Jadene?
So the last one is if we get any news on his salary, we will call him. Because if we do not receive any news, then we will not call him. The call is dependent on us receiving news.
Great. Okay then. Do you think we should move on? I think we have
Yes.
covered
No,
everything. Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Okay, so these
Okay.
vocabulary I think could be very useful. So we have
Hmm.
to match to complete the phrases below. So I can start with the first one and then we can take turns.
Sure.
So the first one is, I would say, forecast expenses.
Yeah. So we did see these phrases in the text before.
Mm-hmm.
There's just to look over them again. So if you forecast something, it's like a prediction, but you have used some science or something behind your prediction. You're not just guessing. If you forecast the expenses, you look at the trend, so the pattern of the expenses before to predict what will happen in the future.
Yeah.
We also use the word forecast with the weather.
Oh,
So
yes.
when we predict the weather, we say, okay, it says tomorrow it will be sunny. It's
Mm-hmm.
because this is on the weather forecast, because they have looked at what's happening in the sky tonight to make a prediction about what will happen tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so the next one is to arrange a meeting, I think, or a conference call.
Oh, a conference call, yeah. But I think
Okay.
arrange a meeting was perfectly fine. So
Okay.
basically, an event that you have to organize, you have to
Yeah.
set up, you arrange them. Okay, so next up is meet and meet a deadline.
Yeah.
Is that's correct here.
Yeah.
So I think students often miss. They use different verbs that are not correct. But remember, meet a deadline is when you finish something on time, like when
Yeah.
you finish what you have to do on time.
Yeah.
Um,
You can imagine it like your task and the final day meet because they come together. And yeah.
mhm.
The next one then I guess is to postpone a meeting. So this is to
To
reorganize it
postpone.
for a later date.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another word for postpone that's really common is to put off. It's a phrasal
Mm,
verb that's often used to put off a meeting, put off a conference call, whatever. Now, to build, I would go for a team. To build a team, you bring together people
yeah,
and to finish a task or do a project.
yeah, exactly. You can also think of it like in fantasy football, where you build your team, you select your players or
Ah,
whatever. And then we have to manage a budget. So this just means to
hmm,
manage. I can't
to
think of another word for manage. To
so
be in charge of. I don't know if that's a. But
um,
it's to take responsibility for and to organize the budget, and make sure that you are spending. You're not overspending, and
mhm.
you're not. Obviously, everyone I think wants to underspend, but yeah, just to
Yeah,
be in control, to be in control of the money that you have for your project.
yeah, to be within budget. Great. So lose track of our goals, of course. So this is not something that's a good thing for your company. So if you lose track of your goals, that means you're not on time or you're not within budget or something is wrong. You're not in the right track, on the right track.
Yeah, we can say you're no longer doing as you had organized or originally planned. And actually, we have all of these metaphors or phrases kind of come together. So imagine
Mm-hmm.
a train on a track, and the track takes you to your finished project or deadline. If you get derailed or you lose track or you go off track, then you are no longer on a smooth path to your deadline and your project. But like we said earlier, you can get back on track. So you can go back to being organized or going in the same direction. So lots of train phrases.
Yeah. Okay. So if we haven't missed anything, we're gonna move forward. Okay, so here we have some examples of the first conditionals. So we need this for anticipating problems, thinking about cause and effect as we were discussing before. So here there are some notes on the uses of first conditional. The first point says, use the first conditional to express a cause plus effect, hypothetical relationship. So the structure is if with present simple for the condition, and we use the future simple for the effect. For example, if we meet the deadline, our boss will be satisfied. Now, I hear a lot of students making a mistake with the position of will. So you never use will with the if clause. You don't say if we will meet. You say if we meet the deadline, our boss will be satisfied. And also remember to use the third person singular correctly. For example, if the we was he, if he meets the deadline, our boss will be satisfied. Okay. So maybe Jadene can take the second point here.
Sure, sure. So
Or
the
maybe if you're
second one,
writing, I can do the next point.
no, it's okay. I was just writing. So to anticipate something is to predict something or to prepare for something. So to anticipate a problem, maybe you will not have this problem, but I think it's probable, it's likely to happen, so I'm going to prepare for it. Yeah. So the structure can also be flipped, where you use the future simple before the if present simple, but the difference is also you remove the comma. So instead of saying if we meet the deadline, comma, our boss will be satisfied, we can say our boss will be satisfied if we meet the deadline, or they will accept the proposal if you lower the cost, or he will postpone the meeting if the weather is bad.
Yeah, exactly. So a comma is this punctuation, if you guys are not familiar with it. Okay, so we have some exercises here. Think about the positives and negatives to activities. Make some cause and effect situations. The first example is meeting a deadline. Mm, I think meeting a deadline is the condition and lose the client is the effect. So a correct sentence for this would be, if we don't meet the deadline, we'll lose the client. Right. So
Exactly.
there are some other prompts that we can use to make first conditional sentences. So the next one
Okay,
goes,
so yeah, so we can say if we keep on or if we continue postponing the meeting, we will never have one.
yeah, great. That's a funny one.
Or maybe if we postpone the meeting, we'll never have one.
Yeah. Keep postponing is also present simple because your verb is keep. That's in present simple. So I will take the next one. The prompts are arranging a conference call, make it quick. So if we arrange a conference call, we'll make it quick, or we'll have to make it quick. Okay. Here goes the next one. So you have managing a budget, cut costs.
Okay, so if Anika manages the budget, she will cut costs.
Good one. With
And
the third person singular.
to cut costs, yes, to cut costs means to reduce costs. And costs is expenditure, expenses.
Great, absolutely. And then we have forecasting expenses, preventing overspending. So I'm going to go ahead and use third person singular as well. So if Jadene forecasts expenses, she will prevent overspending. Or I can also use other modal verbs instead of will. So I can use can. For example, if Jadene, if she forecasts expenses, she can prevent overspending.
Yeah. And using the modal verb can like that just means that something is possible.
Exactly. So let's see if we have another one here. Losing track of your goal, be less efficient.
Okay, so if you lose track of your goals, you will be less efficient.
Okay, great. um,
Okay, so just for the end then. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Jadene.
Just to end, it says putting into practice, ordering priorities. We've got the language we looked at before. What if we manage and let's postpone the meeting? And cause and effect. If we build a team, if we don't forecast expenses, when we have an idea, if we get any news, and any other first conditional. So maybe Anika and I can quickly do task 1.
Yeah. So it says, use the agenda you created for the second meeting about the website. Hold the meeting following the agenda and using the target language here.
No, I think that's way too long. I did not think, I didn't read it properly. Okay, well, we can just go in summary then. Shall we just do a summary? We've only got 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we're gonna look at what we actually reviewed today. We have what we have gone over. We have talked about different methods for reminding yourself about your plans and goals, usually for daily agenda. So we have talked about things like post-it notes, your memory, an agenda or a day planner, or simply writing things at the back of an envelope. We have talked about a little bit about a case study here and some difficulties you may face at work regarding time management or other things. We have talked about different items in your agenda. So we have looked at a case study of June and helped her order her tasks. Then we have talked about, which is the same thing here. So we have looked at a meeting and looked at some expressions that are very, very common. So for example, the expressions for ordering priorities, we can use things like, what if we manage the budget first? Let's postpone the meeting with the director. And we use the first conditional very commonly to talk about cause and effects. We use the word if or when with present simple, as you can see here with the present simple, and for the effect you talk in the future simple. And finally, we have talked about some words that are really common. For example, forecast expenses, arrange conference call, meet deadlines, postpone a meeting, build a team, manage a budget, and lose track. So I think that about sums it up.
Yeah, fantastic.
Right.
Okay, so hopefully you guys will find this business webinar useful. Obviously, yeah, now is a bit of an awkward time to watch it, but if you have a chance later or another
Mhm.
day, these are all saved on YouTube. So you can watch as many of them as you want, as many times as you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Okay. Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.